Hello, folks. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and we're going to cover this. I'm going to basically do my stream again, so I'm going to take it from the top, okay? But while we wait for people to gather in the chat, let me go off and show you off some artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs. We'll look at various cryptids tonight, having some fun. So let me go off and show it to you guys. Now here. This is for my graphic novel, Scumdogs. This is the cover. This is my extreme 90s cover. It looks pretty good, huh? This cover harkens back to the comic books of the 90s. It looks good. Scumdogs' actual titled characters are basically supervillains and stuff who want to take over the universe. My graphic novel is a parody of cartoons from my comic book is a parody of cartoons from when we were growing up and stuff. And the Scumdogs are basically former pro athletes who basically used to compete in sporting events held with superhuman monsters. They used to compete in Scumdog sports. See, they're scum and dogs for trading in their humanity for superpowers. They either do it through science or through some other means to become superhumanly powerful monsters. And you'll see a bunch of characters in this book that'll remind you of stuff when you were a kid. The Scumdogs are led by Death Mug, the purple guy with the metal mask, who's basically an arrogant dictator who wants to rule the world. He's a parody of various villains from 80s cartoons. Like Skeletor, he also has aspects you can recognize of them as well. He looks sort of like them as well. Like Skeletor from He-Man, he's got a skull face. Like the villains of G.I. Joe, the leader, Cobra, like the leaders of that evil organization. The bad guys in G.I. Joe. Like Cobra Commander, he's got a metal mask. Like Serpentor, he's got gold on him, and he's purple like the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can see him here fighting his arch enemy on this cover, Buick Starpoon, the guy with the pink pompadour hair. Him and the rest of his team are basically G.I. Joe parodies. He's mostly a Duke from that show. Well, yeah, get it. He's also a parody of various space opera hero kind of characters like Zap Brannigan, Captain Kirk from Star Trek, Buzz Lightyear or Buck Rogers, those kinds of heroes, and you can see it in the way his uniform looks. Anyone wearing a similar uniform to Buick Starpoon is part of his team in the Space Forces. Now, let's talk about them. Over here, this guy with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. His military specialty, because they're all G.I. Joe parodies, which means they each have a military specialty, and the military they do. His military specialty is that he's an army guy. Before he did anything else, he was part of the army. Then you have this bald guy with a gun down here, whose name is Beach Pounder. His military specialty is that he's a Marine, just another Marine. He was, before he joined up with Buick Starpoon, he was part of the Marines. Then you have this guy back here in the red uniform driving that heavy vehicle. His name is Blast Tank. Yeah, his name is Blast Tank. His military specialty is that he's a heavy vehicle specialist, a tanker. Now, this cover is one of 3 different variant covers you can back when my Indiegogo goes live. Remember, folks, I work on my graphic novel Scumdogs every day. When it's up on Indiegogo, go and back it. You'll enjoy it. Now, I'm just doing a quick one of this, having to go through my stream again, so I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible. Here we have Girl Friday, who's part of another member of the Wild Rangers. She was assigned to work under Buick Starpoon because while Buick Starpoon leads the Scumdog, while Buick Starpoon basically leads the Wild Rangers against the Scumdogs and saves the universe, they're also complete idiots. By the way, I should also do this, and basically having to do this all over again. As Buick Starpoon leads the Wild Rangers against the Scumdogs, they're also complete idiots. So Girl Friday was assigned to work directly under Buick Starpoon and stuff like that. Wait a minute, I should go over here. Over here and stuff like that. Let's see. UFO stream. Because I have to redo this. And as I was saying, because because Girl Friday works under Buick Starpoon, she hates his guts because she was assigned to him because the Wild Rangers, while they do fight, the scumdogs are complete idiots. They just destroy everything and they touch and see, trying to save the day and stuff like that. And she hates him because, well, she thinks her career in the military is over. Stuff. So, because she has to work with him and stuff like that, and basically because she feels that her career in the military is over and stuff. Sorry if I'm not doing this right, folks. I just have to redo all of this again because my stream went down. And so I'm making sure you guys can get this right here. Let me do this. There. Yeah. Girl Friday feels like her career in the military is over and stuff like that because she has to work under Buick Starpoon. So because her superiors assigned her to work directly under him because him and his team were destroying everything in sight. And she just hates him. She hates his guts because of it. Remember, folks, also, please go and share this video. Well, go and hit that like button and stuff because it helps me fight the algorithm. The more people that see my content mean the sooner my graphic novel Scumdogs comes out to you. And remember, this video will be up on my Twitter page at 77megachris1. So you all can, if you want to watch it directly again, you just go to @77megachris1 for the next 24 hours because YouTube basically is burying my videos, and for the next 24 hours, if you want to watch this video again before my video basically goes up on YouTube and is not buried anymore, you have to go here if you want to watch it and stuff. Also, please go hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications, and please go and share this video out on Twitter and Facebook. Let's go and move along with this. Here we have Deathmug's henchmen. Because, in all 80s cartoons, the main villain would have, henchmen that would be total idiots. These are my idiots. The pink guy down here is Sloppy. The blue guy up here is Murder Mouth, and there are a couple of idiots and they're a parody of Deathmug and Sloppy are a parody of every henchman and stuff like that. Well, they're a parody of every henchman from an 80s cartoon. They do whatever Deathmug orders them to basically do something, or Deathmug orders Murder Mouth and Sloppy to do something, and they basically destroy it. It's going to be fun when you read about them. As I said, they're just going to be fun characters. Here we have. What is I going to say? Anything else? Yeah. These guys are a parody of every henchman from an 80s cartoon. Now here we have Hair Metal Doctor, who's a parody of Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe, a mad scientist. But my mad scientist has been crossed over with a hair metal musician. He thinks of all the machines the scumdogs use to try and take over the universe. He does it while being Hair Metal Doctor. And here we have Miss Breasty Melons, who's basically a parody of the Baroness from G.I. Joe. But unlike the Baroness, she only is doing this for fun. She became a villain to have fun. She's only a villain to have fun. Now, the Hair Metal Doctor pinup and the Miss Breasty Melons pinup will be included with other pinups in my graphic novel when you back it on Indiegogo when it's up. But I will also get these pinups out to you from Crypto Fashion on t-shirts for you to buy as well, so look out for those. Now, let's once again go over here and maybe look at Indiegogo real quick before I do anything else. Just basically because I do like to push these books. U.S. Assassin, Book 2, or, Wrath of God. Let's just do that again. Wrath of God, you can back this book for $25, and it looks pretty good. You have a choice of several different covers. The American West, 1883. Wraith is a mysterious hero with a dark past who's relentlessly driven to administer the wrath of God on the evil supernatural forces that contaminate the land. A master of illusion and disguise, Wrath is aided by a former Salvation Army worker, Esther, who frequently finds herself odds with her mentor. It's a race against time and death as together they try to stop a pack of werewolves from obtaining a mystical amulet that will make them invincible. It's 72 plus pages of full color, and the artwork in this book looks great. Look at these covers. Let me show off artwork here. Yeah, look at that artwork from inside of it. There's Wraith kicking ass. Yeah, this looks good. This covers These covers are $25. The back of this book is only $25, and this all looks great. All right. Also, we have U.S. Assassin Book 3. Let me go down here. U.S. Assassin is back in this all-new book. Project U.S. Assassins, reborn as Agent Joe Knight, is assigned to an all-new team to lead against the world's greatest threat, Graveyard Shift. Featuring the first appearance of superstar, the mercenary Flip Gordon. Yeah, looks good. Let's see. The creators of these of Graveyard Shift and U.S. Assassin put their greatest creations against each other. Basically, U.S. Assassin versus Graveyard Shift looks awesome. Yeah, it's a 54-page high-octane graphic novel where he is joined by U.S. Assassin and just like this for post-pulling stuff like that. Again, idea here is artwork from inside the book, and it looks great. You can back this book for $25. Collected edition, black and white edition, black and white Martin cover. You have several different covers you can basically back, and it looks good. All right. Give a few more minutes of this. As you can see here, I was trying to get a synopsis of this. As you can see, they're fighting each other. You have Flip Gordon here, who's also going to be a first appearance of mercenary Flip Gordon, as well as Bazooka Dog. A Bazooka Dog thing right here, and Bazooka Dog interior page, collected edition 1, collector's case, a real American. Here's mercenary Flip Gordon. Looks pretty good. This looks like a good-looking book. It's U.S. Assassin versus Graveyard Shift. It looks damn good. Yeah. Going back it on any go, folks. All right, let's look at some other stuff. There's Alien Alamo, which has made $100,656. That's great. It's broken $100,000. Let's look at these updates. Good morning and welcome to our new backers. This week, campaign crossed over 95,000 mark. We are searching, crossing the Rubicon, and I'm confident we will take this into the 6-figure club and unlock the stretch goal that will get all the variant covers upgrade. Thank you all to the new backers that have joined us. Inclusive Party. Campus Comics. Music is great. Beer is cold. And we have some fun. Here's some killer pages got done this week. I can't share them with you because they would be spoilers. Lots of action going down as our heroes are fighting for their lives. Looks good. Yeah, Alien Alamo is made over $716. That's pretty good. You can back this book for $25. For $25, you have several different variant covers you can back, and each of them looks good. When I do back this book, I'm going for the Chinu Alien Alamo combo for $50, and that looks great for me. It's still funding in demand, folks, so that's also good. Mandy Summers' Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter has made $34,650 with 6 days left, so that's also good. First Man 2 Learning Curve has made $20,243. Earthbound Part 2 has made quite a bit of money. Let's go down here. It looks good. Okay, I think that's about it. Maybe just go down a bit further. God Like the Romulus Saga has made $148,600 with 7 days left, so that's also good. Now, let's go back to what we were doing. I'm going to start this article from the beginning before we do anything else. Yeah. Bizarre UFO encounter and unexplained events, Cumberland. Sorry about this because I want to read this and have this all in one video and stuff like that. A Cumberland County, New Jersey family man describes a bizarre series of events that he witnessed while standing on his front porch. UFOs, unknown persons, unknown stuff, orbs are all part of this account. Let's get into this. I'm a 32-year-old man from from currently living in Cumberland County, New Jersey. This puts me at about 45 minutes away from Philadelphia and 45 minutes away from the Atlantic Ocean, while I'm at the same time being only about 15 minutes away from Delaware Bay. After high school, I went into the U.S. Army as an intelligence analyst for a while. When I got out, I moved to New York City and worked as a project manager for a construction company until I met my, wife and decided to move back to Jersey. Moved back to Jersey to be closer to our family. My wife was pregnant with our daughter. That's just some background on me. So this happened October 2018. It was about 11:45 at night, and I decided to go on my front steps and smoke a couple of cigarettes before I tried to fall asleep. Everybody else in the house was already sleeping. It was a pretty clear night without many clouds in the sky, but there was some fog on the ground. As I was smoking, I was looking at the fog, and to me it looked like there was a movement in it. I know it sounds crazy, but it was almost like there was invisible camouflage things out there that I wouldn't be able to see if it wasn't for the fog hanging on the ground. As I was looking at the fog, I noticed a white truck. Who do you think this? Do you think what he was seeing was ghosts and orbs, including basically with a UFO as well, an actual an actual triangle flying through the air? Maybe one of those military people say that the military has their own UFOs, these big triangular UFOs. This could have been maybe guys in stealth gear he was seen moving around in the fog. This could also have all been planned. Maybe they purposely put the fog there to make him see these things. Basically, this was all a planned encounter with aliens and stuff, and they picked this guy for some reason because they knew he'd be out there at that time of night because they watched him. It does sound like it, because this sounds like these people, like he could have been seeing people in some sort of stealth gear. Or maybe, as it says, maybe somehow aliens and ghosts somehow basically are drawn to each other. Basically, because somehow these spaceships, or maybe just the very presence of these aliens, somehow brings forth other strange phenomena like ghosts and cryptids as well. As I was looking at the fog, I noticed a white truck. And who is this woman he saw who exited the white truck and basically disappeared? Who was she? Was she part of the government, part about all of this? I mean, she just disappeared after she exited that truck, for God's sakes. That had driven by 2 times at this point. I could hear a woman, man yelling at each other. Yeah, this could very well have been staged. This had been something for his benefit to see. When the truck stops at the stop sign in front of my house, the woman gets out screaming at the man, then slams the door, and as he pulls off fast, she then proceeds to walk into the woods across the street from me, which is really weird because there isn't anything back there except blue holes until you hit the bay. If I walk out of my front door, just keep walking straight, there won't be any houses or civilization at all. Only trees and artificial lakes, blue hole left over from sand plants until you hit the Delaware Bay. So at this point, it's about 45 minutes since the woman walked into the woods, and then when things started going from weird to absolutely scary. So strange, and the most reality-shattering thing that has ever happened to me. I'm still looking at the movement that I'm seeing in the fog when I hear this weird, very loud noise come from the woods that sounded like metal being ripped apart. There really isn't a good example I can give for that sound because it was so unearthly. I'm sure it wasn't a natural sound. That sound lasted about 10 to 15 seconds, then abruptly stopped. It was replaced with a different sound, which I can feel more than I could hear. Imagine could that have been this woman or something basically starting up this UFO and basically flying out? If it was a government property, was she part of it, or was this all staged? Did that woman just disappear and basically, going off and basically go off to a different area and basically was picked up by a different car or something? Or was she part of the UFO itself? Or because this sounds distinctly like they had this all planned out. This was just staged for this guy. That's if it was true. This does sound like this kind of thing, doesn't it, folks? Let's get back to this article. Probably more than I could. Yeah, it lasted about 10 to 15 seconds, then abruptly stopped and was replaced with a different sound, which I can feel more than I could hear. Imagine being aware that there's a huge sound happening by you, but it's out of the frequency that your ears can hear. That's the best way I can describe it. This sound is a constant to the rest of the experience. This is the point where I will probably lose some people. I'm aware of how crazy this all sounds, but I'm getting adjusted to the sound. It feels like something reaches out to me mentally, but does so without words. It only conveys a feeling of calm and heads up or warning for what's about to happen. It kind of feels like whatever it was feeling me out to see how I would react to what I was currently experiencing, like a security check. As I was having this feeling of calm conveyed to me, okay, I noticed a light in the sky that seemed to have risen out of the woods. Yeah, this does sound like this was all planned, doesn't it? That this was maybe a government UFO that they basically created, and they were using this guy to basically show it off. Basically, they want to show that aliens existed. And that would explain maybe the movement in the fog. These were guys in camouflage gear, basically very high-tech camouflage gear, basically running around making sure he was there and stuff like that. Also maybe making it creepy for him as well. The woman was there basically to make sure he was looking in the right area, because where she walked off to in the woods, he was going to basically be looking in that area. So distinctly you'd see the UFO rising from the ground. Now, who knows what this was actually about, because this sounds too planned to be anything else but that. Though it could really be aliens, I suppose, but we don't know. Now, folks, remember, if you want to basically watch this video again, go to my Twitter page, and the first pinned tweet at 77megachris1 will be this video, because YouTube basically buries my videos for about a few hours, so you can't just go to my YouTube page and read comics that are bad for you. You can't just do that until tomorrow and stuff to watch this video. So remember, if you want to watch this video again, go to my Twitter page. All right, let's get back to this article. Calm conveyed to me. I noticed a light in this risen out of the woods. I would say it was about 5 or 6 miles away from me. At this point, it's only a ball of light in the distance, but I just knew that it wasn't coming was coming right towards me, although it wasn't moving very fast. Right after I noticed the light in the sky is when I start to get really, really freaked out, more than I've ever been in my life. In the woods across the street from me, which is no more than 50 yards, all these orbs of light start to appear. I could see some which seemed to flicker into existence. Yes, this sounds that this could very well be ghosts and aliens, for God's sakes. Now, this could be the guys in stealth gear basically turning on their lights on their gear to make sure that he saw lights. Or could maybe this be some other phenomenon? But it does seem strange that aliens or these such phenomenon basically seem to go basically together. That somehow aliens attract ghosts and Bigfoot and other cryptids, and also attract you. These things also seem to do the reverse. People see Bigfoot or cryptids and then see lights in the sky, see spaceships. What could it all mean? Let's get back to this. These lights start to they see. I could see, these lights seem to flicker into existence. I could see some which seemed to flicker into existence. These orbs were all white light, all light, all white, which didn't light up the area around them like what you would expect from flashlights. There were probably about 12 or more, or probably about 16 of them, which moved in a totally smooth manner. Besides the trail to get into the woods, the area is so dense and infested. This does sound like this could be something that's not exactly. Well, we don't know what's exactly going on here, but I have a weird feeling about it. Let's get back to this. And infested with the area is infested with sticker thorn bushes. It simply wouldn't be possible for people to move where the lights were moving, let alone do it completely smooth. I really am positive that they were people with flashlights because of the area and the characteristics of the light orbs themselves. So I'm just watching the orbs move around for about a minute, trying to make sense of what it is I'm seeing. I look back up into the sky and find a craft coming practically right towards me, with it only about being 1,000 yards away at this point. So I'm going back and forth looking at the orbs on the ground and the craft, which I start to make out better. It was flying very low. I'd say it was about 3.5 to 4 stories off the ground. Well, 3.5 to 4 stories off the ground. Okay. 3 stories to 4 stories off the ground. Off the ground. Jeez. That's a big thing. Just 3 to 4 stories off the ground. That's very high. I see the path it's taking and see it's going to pass right in front of me at an angle in which I'll be able to see underneath the craft and the side of it at the same time. The craft was a single-story dull black rectangle. I could see underneath the craft and saw that the rectangle was made up of 3 smaller rectangle panels that fit together to form a larger rectangle. I clearly saw that the craft was made up of 3 panels. The size is a harder estimate, but I would say it was about 35 yards long and 20 yards across. Underneath there were lights, going off in a lights flashing in a pattern, which would cycle through, then cycle back the other way. Well, lights going off in a pattern that would cycle through, then cycle back to the other way. The moment I thought the craft was signaling to the orbs on the ground, I didn't really make any sound at all. All I was hearing is the same buzzing, humming noise I felt more than I heard. While it was in front of me, it was moving really slow to the point where I don't think a plane with a normal propulsion system would even stay in the air. Yeah, it was moving very slowly. So, yeah, you wouldn't really think that something like that was a plane would be able to basically move that slowly in the sky. So that's another thing to consider. What what he actually saw could actually have been some sort of spacecraft or something we don't understand. I take my eyes off the craft and look back down at the orbs, which are still moving all around. The one was starting to cross the street in front of me. I only took my eyes off the craft for a moment when I looked at the orbs, but when I looked back, the craft was gone. For whatever reason, when I saw the craft just vanish like that, the reality of what I was seeing really hit home. I got scared, to be honest with you, since my daughter, wife, and mom were all no more than 50 feet away from all of this craziness. I was watching. I went inside and locked the door. I just felt like I'd be willing to investigate more if it wasn't just my life I was playing with. But I wasn't willing to take that chance with my family's lives. I could have just been paranoid at this point, but it felt like I was being watched for the next 2 hours. I didn't have any lost time from this event, and the entire thing happened only over a period of 20 to 30 minutes. Go back on the street now, I question what exactly was going on with the white truck and the woman who walked into the woods. At the beginning of this post, I've also done some research and found that there are a good number of reports of people seeing glimmermen woods, which makes me think of the movement I was seeing in the fog. Where I live is a very active area for UFO phenomenon, which makes sense if something wanted to have access to major cities like Philadelphia, New York City, and D.C. What could possibly do a better place to hide than almost inaccessible 1,000 feet deep lakes in the middle of the woods? I wanted to be as detailed as possible. I'd really like to hear what you will think about this, and if anybody has a similar experience or knows somebody who has. Thanks for reading. Interesting. Interesting. What do you think he experienced, folks? We also have this article here. Cryptid and unexplained phenomenon incidents. We'll get into that in a moment. What do you think this guy actually experienced? Do you think that there's some sort of military base back in those woods that's underground, and that it would be and these lakes, these 1,000 foot deep lakes, would be perfect for basically, for the UFOs to rise out of the ground? It also could be alien based as well. We don't know. There could be openings to basically the inner earth in those lakes or something. So that's all very interesting to consider as well. Isn't it? 4 separate reports of strange encounters with cryptids and other unexplained beings in South Dakota, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. Let's read them, huh? I just recently moved to a small town in South Dakota, and my apartment is surrounded by fields and woodlands. 2 nights ago, I took my St. Bernard out for a walk around midnight. Funny enough, a few nights ago, some friends and I were sharing urban legends and creepypastas. One of my friends said she doesn't whistle at night because of skinwalkers. I didn't really know what that meant. Anyway, on the night in question, I was standing with my dog when I started to hear a whistle. Just 2 tones repeat over and over. I know that it wasn't a bird, it was definitely human. I also know that it wasn't imagining anything because my dog got concerned and began to become restless while staring in the dark when it seemed that the whistle was coming from. Usually is friendly and curious, but he got scared and actually hid behind me. Big pansy. I headed inside quickly, and the whistle continued behind me. For some reason, I wanted to whistle back. I knew it was a bad idea and managed to stay quiet. I got inside and locked the door and all of my windows. I told my girlfriend what I had heard, and she, of course, dismissed it and said that I just needed some sleep. I haven't been able to sleep and last night I swear I heard it tapping on my window and live on the 10th floor. This may sound like I'm trying to write a creepy story, but I swear this all happened. I don't know anything about this stuff. What should I do? I live in Western Kentucky. Well, this is very interesting what happened with this guy, huh? This sounds like very similar to the other report. Could this have been a staged event? They said that skinwalkers can hear you if you talk about them. I mean, could this maybe, do you think the government had anything to do with this, basically finding people and making them see such things? I live in Western Kentucky. Well, as I get back to this article and stuff, in a very woodsy place. I was walking my dog before bed, and out of nowhere, he sat down and howled. I had absolutely no clue what his issue was, but I could sense that something just wasn't quite right. I said to head back to the house, and I felt hyper aware of everything, aware of every crunch in the branches, every rock I kicked, and every step that I took. I had a flashlight because it's very dark at night where I am, and I shined it into the woods, and out of curiosity, a pair of eyes reflected back to me. So I figured it was just a coyote and kept moving. Come the next morning, I woke up very early and hear a sort of weeping sound coming from the outside in the direction of the woods. Of course, I was freaked out so I looked out the window. There was a deer standing in the field leading into the woods, but something just seemed off about the deer. Its eyes looked funky. It looked almost bulky, and the weirdest part was that its legs looked mismatched. It looked almost as if the front legs were on backwards, like the joints being on the wrong spot and bending the opposite way of a normal leg on a deer. My first thought was, but it didn't look as if frail as a deer was CWD. Basically the deer that a disease that basically targets deers. The deer has returned multiple times since the incident, and I have even seen it stand on its back legs to stare at me. I still hear weeping sounds coming from the woods in the early hours of the morning, around 2 to 5 a.m. is when I hear the loudest. What did I see and hear? It sounds like a not deer. Maybe some sort of magical creature you've seen. That sounds very interesting, huh, folks? Great article we're looking at right now. A few years ago, I met a coal miner from Tennessee mountains. We were just having a conversation, this news story right here, and various subjects. Then a split second, he removed his cap, and he was another person. Everything changed about him. It wasn't as if it wasn't as if I were talking to someone else. It was as if I were talking to someone else. Whoa. Face just changed, body language, even his stature. It happened that fast. Honestly, I tried to hide my shock, but he turned into another person right before my eyes. Somehow, I got interested in skinwalker topics, and I kind of kept listening to all stories. So one day, it really felt curious about wanting to actually seeing these beings, and slept with that. Fast forward to 3 a.m. I hear howling and horrifying screams. Not like anything I've ever heard before. Here in my apartment in the middle of city, Charlotte and stuff, wife and neighbors informed the next day that they heard the same noises, plus they had some kind of horrible dreams at the same time. What are these? Maybe a kind of interdimensional portal might be open because they desired and was curious for that experience. I know all of it sounds a bit I can't deny my wife and neighbor together. Huh. Yeah, what did this guy see, huh? What did these guys see? Look at a few more stories. Got a lot of time left for the video. Let's see. Cryptid unexplained phenomena, explanation, malevolent focus centers, glamour encounters in Florida and California. Glimmerman encounters in Florida and California. Here's an article. 2 Glimmerman accounts that were submitted to the expanded perspective. One of the signs was in Florida, other in another state. I had an intriguing life full of mysteries experience. Let's get into this article as I'm reading it. I want to share them with people while I still can. Usually I don't talk about openly about the things I've seen, the people I've met, or what I've experienced, but I think it's good and safe to share here. The Glimmer Man show you put on a recently was one of my favorites. Thus far, it was relieving and comforting to me to hear this show in particular, because though I've seen a great deal, my experience with a cloaked creature and my husband's separate encounter with among the were Canada among the weirdest. To begin with, my husband and I live in Florida for all of 2020. I lived right by the state park in a swampy pond in a grand house. We're about 50 feet from the pond and less than 5-minute drive from the park. I mention this because I'm very wary of state and national parks due to David Paulides and my own experiences. Living at this place, it was only strengthened my desire to steer quite clear of these designated parks in particular. Anyway, I was filming one day in my kitchen on a YouTube channel, July of 2020, filming a turret reading, since that was what my channel was about at the point in time. I sat at my kitchen table facing the front door. Our home had a mostly open plan, and you could see the front door all the way through to the back sliding patio doors, which included a direct path from the front door to the back door and through the kitchen, which I filmed. I sat at my kitchen table facing the front door, and I could see it totally unobstructed. So I could see it, huh? Yeah. During the filming of this really early this afternoon on my birthday, bright sunny day in the home full of light, I saw a Glimmer Man. Well, it was in her home. Now it's important for me. Important for me to say that I love the forest, the northern forest. Anyway, I have my home decorated with realistic pine trees, and at that point, I had a beautiful fox pine by the front door. Mid-reading, I heard the tree by the door jostle, and looked up to see it tripping back and forth in all tall, black, and semi-transparent frosted glass, being in the loose shape of a humanoid running past the tree and down the hallway that leads to my craft room, my husband's studio. He is a creator too, and his bathroom. It was at least 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide or thick. That I could see it. It was moving quickly. Oddly, though, this being was graceful and moved with a superhuman perfection. I had been in the middle of a sentence and on camera broke the reading to call out, "Hello, who's there?" I'm used to seeing things and more, so I wasn't afraid, but I was startled. I sat there with my cards in my hands, staring at where it was, at where it is. It disappeared down the hallway, and wondering if I should dare to follow whomever it was that to the person in the home, I said firmly against it, because clearly that person or being didn't want to be seen or pursued by me. After a moment, I said to the camera, "I think I just had an experience," and tried to pick back up the reading while still keeping my eyes and ears open in case this thing was going to show itself or attack me. It was stressful, and things only got weirder after the experience. I'm so grateful we left that property. My husband, one night several months later, was laying in bed with me sometime around 12 or so at night. No, 11 at night. I was almost asleep, but he was awake, watching TV or something, staring off into the distance, as he put it, because he was tired but still wired after his long day at work. Out of nowhere, my husband shook me awake and said, "I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. I saw it." Yeah. In an excited and shocked whisper, "What? Where? What?" Well, what? Where? I saw the cloaking thing, the technology. I just saw it, like what you said a while ago. I sat up a little and asked him to explain, since it was pitch dark in the room except for the TV and light coming in from the kitchen. Whereabouts I always insisted on leaving a light on. I pointed to the top of the door frame, which was aglow and soft, diffused every light from the other room. It was there, he explained. It was a somewhat large patch of transparent but warped air, and it moved like it was floating or crawling. We stayed up for a while comparing notes. I had seen the full body of the thing, and it had the frosted glass look, been rushing, and it seemed to have purposely, or maybe not so purposely, almost knocked over a tree. His had moved slowly. It was crystal clear, about 1.5, and he couldn't see the exact shape. My husband never had any paranormal experiences until meeting me. Now we both have them and openly talk about them. I share my closest memories and secrets about my experiences with this guy, and I'm grateful to finally have another experiencer from whom to share life. He loves this stuff now and wants to meet other people and see even more. Uh, Interesting. Here's another story. I believe I've encountered a glimmer man in my childhood. Is a very vivid memory what I've had my whole life. I grew up in Somerset, California, unincorporated part El Dorado country. Country, huh? Lived lived on 5 acres. I was about 6 years old, running around outside. It was on the front of my house as a dilapidated shed in the property. All of a sudden, by a dilapidated shed. All of a sudden, it went silent. I couldn't hear anything. It felt like I was deaf. No birds or anything. Not even the rustle of long dead grass in the wind was silent. I thought it was strange. I remember my teacher at school was talking about how the eyes of a storm are quiet. I was young and dumb and thought that what it was. Suddenly, I look about 30 feet in front of me and see something making a beeline towards me through. I couldn't see anything. All I saw was just the disturbance of dead oak leaves on the ground being blown towards me. Then I felt it pick me up and it held me against the shed in the air. I was then dropped like nothing happened and it seemed to vanish. I ran inside crying to my mom that the house had many paranormal encounters from shadow man to orbs. Interesting little article there. Yeah. Let's do this. Yeah. Very interesting. Maybe go over here. Extra dimensional beings is relatively experience. Maybe try this. Cryptids. Search results for cryptids in the Paranormal Alliance. Forest dwellers focusing on cryptid messages. Interesting right here. Let's take a look at this. Like a pendulum swinging back and stuff. Sometimes I facilitate wondering between who cryptids are. You wondering between who cryptids are and the scary stories I have heard about them throughout the years. I think it was time for those Little Red Riding Hood stories to be put on the shelf so that we can be better acquainted with our forest dwellers, or wherever the hell they are. Within the last 2 years, my entire mindset in cryptids has changed because of my interaction with this guy, with Loki, a Sasquatch from the Oregon region. In those changing times, it had become imperative for me to engage in dialogue with those who can hear them. I am told many people are being contacted now, those who are empathic and have the ability to hear their voice and interpret their messages. It's time to understand our forest and variety of beings who reside there, and to remember we are born connected to nature, always a part of her. Okay, interesting. The assumed reality of unknown roads leading to shadowy, obscure paths, thicket of the forest is an overdone movie with the same repetitive consequences. Handheld captured video seems to overdo the unseen villain who in the end prevails in doing the unthinkable. It somehow takes away the enormity of what some people have regrettably experienced concerning missing loved ones. Unfortunately, far apart from the equation is the high strangeness of Mother Nature's realm of mystery and obscurity. Seems to rule the forest. Time and again, I hear this same, this sounds like ultra-terrestrials, fairies and such. Those creatures that I basically like to do videos about, cryptids and the like. These ultra-terrestrials. I hear the same diatribe that catalogers negative repercussions for people who dare to delve into the paranormal or the forbidden lore of dark mania. The forbidden lore. What is unfortunate is the fear-mongering that slanderers like to spread from the safety of their computer chairs. It looks to me as if humanity has changed from inquisitive and adventurous explorers to buccaneers from the days gone. Buccaneers to the present-day computer curmudgeons that intercede with their opinions in just about everything. Yeah, pretty much. Well, sort of. Not really. You got to understand is that a lot of people have never seen stuff before, or if they have seen it, if they are basically become believers in this stuff. Once you see it, you just can't really do anything about that. Basically, go on about this stuff. Let's get back to this article. Even though as humans we live in chaotic times, there are those who want to give us some sense of hope. It's a little bit of a cliche to think that these messengers are always going to look like golden sprites or angelic beings drawing books. The biggest challenge for people today is to get past their preconceived notions that messengers from hairy beasts are from the lingering darkness of antiquity. For a minute, yeah. Just imagine if you were one of these beings in the forest that reversed the reversal of roles would have humans as the adversaries plaguing and encroaching into their world. Light and dark is entirely different meaning to these beings, and perhaps we as humans are perceived as darkness to them. Realizing that perhaps there is a chance they are just as wary of us as we are of them, I decided it was time to try and understand who the forest dwellers are, because there are a variety of cryptids and other beings, and has made deciphering their messages a bit of a challenge, especially when the intellect is not human in nature and quite unlike our own. But in some ways, the messengers are very clear-cut to me, not ambiguous or anecdotal in nature, which makes it a bit easier to understand once the dust settles in my mind. This is good. And the eyes of cryptids, their forests are invariably affected by weather manipulation, drought, crimped tails, polluted rain, and deforestation, all due to humans' views of progress and self-centeredness. If we eradicate nature endowments, we open up a different type of Pandora's box that will unleash an unbiased torrent of consequences. Yeah, but a lot of that what you're just saying basically comes out as basically propaganda from people who say that we should watch nature to the point where we must suppress our own freedoms. Don't be too stupid about that, man, because a lot of this stuff about burning down forests and stuff like that isn't really having that much of an effect on an actual on actual environment and stuff like that. Though burning down forests is pretty much a bad thing, because there's such thing as ground collapse, where there's, if you don't have trees and roots and stuff like that, the ground can't collapse during a flood and stuff, and basically make a mudslide. There are such consequences, but nothing to the level that a lot of these fear mongers like to do, because they're just as bad as people who just say they're nothing like cryptids at all, basically looking for excuses. Pandora's box that will unleash an uninhabited torrents of consequences to cryptids. It's obvious. An unabashed torrent of consequences. Yeah. To cryptids, it's obvious. Humans are responsible for their difficult circumstances, not the least of which is being shot. So I ask, why would a cryptid be happy to see humans? There are always, There are ways to communicate various intentions among forest dwellers, resulting in more positive experiences for them, without leading to aggressive behavior by their side. Nature itself speaks to us, telling us what trails to hike and what trails to leave alone. People tend to understand that forests have different rules or engagement than our concrete cities. Oh, it does sound interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Relaxing in a campground doesn't mean letting your guard down any more than leaving your doors unlocked while you sleep. These relevant points have been made very clear to me based on cryptid voices and my connection to nature. They can't hide what they are any more than humans can hide who we are. Forest dwellers are a part of Mother Nature in her purest form, which means they can carry within them their nature in the purest form, means they carry within them both the dark and light aspects of who they are. Some are darker in nature, while others carry the light. Comparison to the pipe carriers of native, comparison to the people who have been here a while. The forests are vast and large, so the odds of meeting up with cryptids who are darker in nature versus the friendly creatures light are 50-50. Really, that could be true. I compare it to this. I was in New York City back. I compare it to this. I was in New York City back 5 years ago, and I felt as if I had been swallowed by the masses of people going basically around me. The buildings crowded out the sky above me, and the ubiquitous noise was deafening. Some people thrive in the kind of atmosphere, but I felt as if I was drowning. I sensed tension and irritability. Yeah, all around me. Each day I walked the streets. One day, and the blue, as me and a friend were standing waiting for a train to arrive, two men started to argue around us. They were trying to use us as human shields as they tried to grab at each other. What was really disturbing is that they didn't acknowledge us at all, almost like they had blocked out their human empathy. Fortunately, after a few minutes, one of the men ran off the other way, ran off, and the other walked away yelling at him victoriously, even in broad daylight, as aware as we were with people around us, including security. Our safety was jeopardized. Dangers in any city, it's just like it is in any forest. It just depends on how aware you are of your surroundings. Remember, even though you have walked along trails multiple times with nothing happening, all it takes is just one encounter to change those odds. In every society, human or cryptid, there are those bad apples that tend to spoil it for everybody else. The most pendulent message I've received thus far from my forest dweller contacts is the need for everyone to, in going to the forest, to watch the sky above, smell the air, and basically be aware. Like looking at your surroundings and be aware if you are in inkling that something is wrong or feel have second thoughts. Save the hike or camping for another day. Even the forest dwellers heed their own advice and stay within their own camps. If they sense danger is near, in the end, we are not so different from each other, especially when it comes to the determined of encountering the dark side. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. The ultimate ghost detector. Mega. When UFOs get tricky, part 2. Writers needed. Cryptid and the Paranormal Alliance. Interesting. Very. When UFOs get tricky, part 2. Maybe take a quick look at this. If you missed part 1, the series, click here. The Romero Henson's book was a maze of organizations, scientific findings, personalities, and tales that exemplified the complex world of trickster topic. We are explored, such as the quantum physics, paranoia, binary oppositions, and rationalization. Not since the work of psychologist J.G. Jung in his book Flying Saucer, The Modern Myth of Things Seen in the Sky, had a professional researcher tried to form a meaningful, broad, and worldwide view of bizarre, synchronistic, and mystic events. And Henson's book was one of the several increasing attempts over the years. Carl Jung, mainly known for his theories on the nature of unconscious mind. We might go to, the first article and read this, but what we're reading here is interesting as too. For his theories on the nature of the unconscious mind, however, he did have an interest in the paranormal. Jung also applied his analytical talents in his book Flying Saucers, Modern Myth of Things Seen in the Skies. 1959, Jung applied to his studies. Jung applied his skills to studying UFO phenomena rather than assuming that the modern prevalence of UFO sightings are due to extraterrestrial craft. Jung reserved judgment on their origin and connected UFOs with archetypal imagery, concluding that they have become a living myth. Jung said that this myth was possibly underlined by global tensions. In this threatening situation of the world today, when people are beginning to see that everything is at stake, the projection creating fantasy soars over the realm of earthly organizations and powers into the heavens, into the interstellar space, where the rulers of human fate, the gods, once had their abode in the planets. Under these circumstances, it would not be at all surprising if these sections of the community who are asking themselves nothing were visited by visions by a widespread myth, seriously believed in by some and rejected as absurd by lots of other people. Jung felt that if the extraterrestrial origin of the phenomenon should be confirmed, that our science and technology would be deposited to the scrap heap. He said that it would be a catastrophe similar to the Pax Britannica. Primitive countries. He also said if we wish to avoid such a catastrophe, the authorities in possession of important information should not hesitate to enlighten the public as soon as completely as possible, and should above all stop these ridiculous antics of mysteries and vague illusions. He said that if extraterrestrial origin of the phenomenon should be confirmed, that our science and technology would be posited on the scrap heap. Yeah, but that's not only the extraterrestrial origin. What about the supernatural origin, ghosts and other stuff? What if some of these things are, as you said, the phenomenon of UAPs covers much more than just flying saucers or spaceships. It covers lights in the sky, various things like people seeing Bigfoot or other cryptids who also been in the area of seeing these UFOs. So yeah, there's more. All of this stuff seems to basically correlate, or basically sometimes, basically just goes. People see ghosts and they also see UFOs and stuff, things like that. Could some of these things be ghosts? We don't really know, but yeah, trying to but what do you do if you enlighten people? Do you admit that there are ghosts and not just aliens? That they're basically throwing away our science onto this, thrown away because of once you know aliens exist, it would basically prove our science was basically wrong because faster than light travel is possible. But what about aliens and ghosts? I mean, if you basically explain that the aliens exist and that basically they come from different planets, and or basically it's all science fiction and stuff like that made fact, it basically says our science is still relevant. But if you prove that ghosts and other supernatural creatures exist out of myth, then basically it makes our science seem kind of odd, especially if somehow aliens and ghosts somehow exist and exist together. I mean, if ghosts exist and aliens exist, what does it say that we know about the world, really? I'm not going to really finish this article, but I wanted to do a quick check on it. I had a good one here, and basically saying my ideas on this. Maybe I'll go a bit further to where I was. That would be yeah. If we wish to avoid, yeah, there's that. Maybe just go a bit further. Gary Lynch in his recent book, The Mystic Esoteric Dimension of Carl Jung's Life and Teachings, June 2010, said that Jung argued that UFOs were mandalas from outer space. Jung had come upon the image of the mandala, Sanskrit magic circle, Sanskrit symbol of psychic wholeness, and he suggests that flying saucers were mass archetypal projections from the psychic tension produced by the Cold War that was heating up. He basically tulpas, you mean, or basically the energy that we were making was basically forming into basically these flying UAVs, and people were witnessing them because all that energy had to go somewhere, and all that stress and anger and stuff like that basically took on a life of its own. People were seeing these things flying through the skies. Could be. It sounds sort of like a tulpa, basically someone believing in something and actually making a thought form that actually existed. It could be. Could be. Yeah. This has been a pretty good article and stuff like that to read. I'm not going to finish it off though. Just basically took a look at it. We had a pretty good live stream tonight, folks. I'm going to basically end it now. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. Okay, the there is misspelled. It's TH. The there. Let's see. The there in my title is misspelled. Okay, it's THERE. So you should know that. Make sure you're still subscribed. Okay. Remember, folks, if you want to watch this video again, go to my Twitter page at 77megachris1 on Twitter, and this video will be the first pinned tweet if you want to watch it again and stuff. Also, I probably should share this out. Make sure they have that. Here we go again, Saturday. Just making sure about that. Yeah, go to at 77megachris1 if you want to watch this video again. It'll do that. So there's that as well. So we got that there. Yeah. Hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications for my videos. Leave some comments down below. Yeah. Make sure to share this video out on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that as well. Got all that done. Also, please go over to Stitch Together Pics. Stitch Together Pics is a YouTube channel that deserves far more subscribers. It's hosted by the Maniacal Cinephile. Stitch Together Pics is a great YouTube channel. He plays the Maniacal Cinephile basically has multiple personality. Well, whether plays a character who has multiple personality disorder. So you're not just getting one character, you're getting a whole bunch of them. And they are fun to watch. Go and subscribe to Stitched Together Pics, as well as go over and subscribe to Robot Co-op. on YouTube. Robot Co-op is a great YouTube channel. It's basically like Mystery Science Theater 3000. They do these live streams with these robot puppets that are just so much fun to watch. When you're watching them, you just laugh when they play their live streams. All right. Also, please go over and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. Creepy Little Book is like the Art Bell radio show. He does small videos talking about high strangeness, but he also does live streams every night. Remember, he live streams on weekdays at 12:30 a.m. and on weekends at 10 o'clock p.m. He talks about aliens and ghosts, and you learn so much from watching his live streams. They are just great. Go and subscribe to Creepy Little Book on YouTube. As well as, please remember, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock p.m. for another live stream. So be sure to come back again then. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank